Interactive, and tonight we are talking about Quora. Or really, it's not about Quora, it's about platforms that ask questions. And I have a little bug that came in from outside when I took the dog out, and the bug wants to join us, and I don't really want the bug to join us. Um, Hopefully, I don't end up eating the bug on live stream, but that could be interesting. Anyway, welcome, Tom. Welcome, Gail. And
Hi.
Gail, I'd love to start. You started to talk about Yahoo on the live stream. I'm sorry,
Right.
on the
Okay.
chat.
So originally it was Yahoo questions,
That's
and but they were really picky. Like they didn't want businesses using it, which was kind of dumb because if you knew the answer, you probably were in the business, right?
mm-hmm.
And so I would write really comprehensive answers that were non-promotional, and they would delete them. And I'm like, well, if you're going to delete my answers, I'm not going to answer. And it devolved into kids asking really dumb questions and giving outrageously incorrect answers.
I
And
think
so
I
there
do
was
remember
that.
that.
Yeah. Then there was
That
LinkedIn. That may still exist. I don't know, but it was so bad that it was not worth looking at.
wasn't
Then
that like
LinkedIn had
2008 or a
questions.
long
Yeah.
time ago?
Long
Okay.
time ago. Yeah. Could maybe even the 1990s. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then LinkedIn had questions, and you could like tag experts and
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, and then those went away. And now they have the new thing where there's a question and they want you to like write a blurb. That was what Tom was talking about, that he didn't like the length limits on what what the questions were. He didn't feel he could give comprehensive answers, right, Tom?
Correct. Correct.
On the recent one where it kind of pops up at you just as you log in, and it's like we see you're an expert and could you please contribute to this article or whatever. I don't think I
Correct.
ever tried to put a link in there. I didn't want to. Maybe I'm remembering kind of subconsciously back to the Yahoo days because Gail, it does sound familiar. I think I do
Oh,
remember
well,
that
I'm
as
not
far as the
talking
Yahoo.
about, yeah, not links. I mean, we didn't put links. I'm just saying that
Mm-hmm.
if you had any connection to actually why you would know the answer to something, they would delete your answer. It was
Yep.
just, it was weird. But yeah, LinkedIn, I don't think, can we put links in there? I don't remember. I don't, they don't like links, so I don't tend to use links. But I think you can get pretty good visibility answering those at times, especially if something different to say than what's already been said.
That's what I try to do on LinkedIn. But this isn't just Quora and LinkedIn. This is like, for instance, Amazon gets upset. I was doing a bunch of reviews on Amazon, and now I've started to actually save them so I can do blog posts. But they got upset because I was doing too many reviews, so they think I'm faking it or something. It's like these are
Oh,
honest reviews of honest products I've tried, but because I did so many reviews, it was like, oh, these must not be real. So they just started removing my reviews. It's like any platform, if you are doing too much of anything, it becomes suspect or
yeah.
something. I
Apparently,
don't
they're
know.
not good at removing fake ones because there's a boatload of fake ones on there. Hmm.
It's like it's verified. Actually, you can look and actually purchase this stuff. I actually tried it, and a lot of them had pictures and videos, and I'm actually showing using it and giving. But whatever. I stopped doing reviews for a while for Amazon because I was
Well,
tired of all this work I did, and they removed them.
yeah, sellers, you should always keep copies of everything you do, and then you
Now I
can
do.
try to put them back in later. But sellers have long complained that places like Yelp and Amazon remove real reviews. Like a long time ago, remember when Yelp got in trouble or bad reputation because they would remove people's reviews if they wouldn't advertise. Like they try to get you to advertise, and if you said no, then your good reviews would start disappearing.
That's nasty.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice. Not
Really
nice.
is. Just like this whole thing you described with Yahoo, that is a mess. So now they just have invalid data out there. It's
Well, the answers were just ridiculous, right? And you were like, you're kidding, right? I mean, it was like obviously little kids answering, or teenagers without a clue. I don't know, but the answers were horrendous. Quora, I don't know how they've done it, but Quora still has decent questions and decent answers. You can't really say anything that goes against the mainstream narrative there. or they'll delete it, right?
I
It's
hope
just
they
like
delete one today because I got a
Tom.
response from one. I answered it several years ago. It had to do with a paper, like writing your thesis for a doctorate. And we had several responses over the years, and we're all in agreement that you shouldn't go out and purchase somebody, have somebody write it for you and purchase that. And I'd written about that. Don't do that because then it's not really a valid degree if you're buying your paper. We had that discussion with Julie, and well, anyway, another discussion. But somebody wrote something today, and the funny thing, it's not funny, but his response to my response was, well, everybody does it, so therefore it's valid, and I have my doctorate, and
Oh
everything is just
my.
fake, and on and on and on. I don't really think he has a doctorate, but he's going on and on. And not only was his grammar incorrect, I mean, his grammar wasn't just incorrect, it was missing. He did not have, I mean, it was atrocious. And he was spelled, instead of saying because, he said cuz, and that wasn't even spelled correctly. It was COS. And I was like, do you want me to even start on your writing? This wouldn't even pass like first grade, let alone
That
bachelor's level, let
but
alone
see,
master.
that's appalling though. But I think it's been that a long time because I think I've mentioned in Waco, Texas, there was a company that was super popular and growing really fast. And what they did was they did pre employment testing. And I said, that works? And they go, yeah, it works. So apparently, the people who are dumb are really dumb. Like it would ask questions like, is it okay to take home a whole box of pins from your employer? Right? And stuff like that. And apparently, the clueless people would answer honestly that they would steal their employer blind and the employers would eliminate them. And I thought, wouldn't they be smart enough to lie? I mean, it would just be stupid. Yes, I'm going to steal stuff. You should still hire me. I It just boggles the mind. But I've had that discussion I don't know how many times. People want to publish content about selling, you know, some kind of school papers. And I'm like, don't you understand that's unethical? It is not only unethical, but you will probably get expelled if you get caught. And they're like, just like that guy, everybody does it. Everybody does it is not a valid reason to do something unethical. Just because no one else has ethics doesn't mean you shouldn't have any either.
Well, we've got that issue going on right now with some of the universities, where key people in universities are now being discovered to have plagiarized large portions of their thesis. And I've made comments before, I think even here, where and again, you can judge for yourself whether my involvement with government people has anything to do with this comment. But I've worked with many highly educated idiots. They got the PhD hanging on the wall, and they're like, can you not even think straight? Can you not even put two sentences together? It's a common sort of thing. Now, when you talk about these other forums like Quora or whatever, it's true. I don't run into them that often. Part of that is because of my niche. As people say, you got to niche down. But what I do is
I think you're pretty niched.
Well, that's my view, but not everybody agrees. But it's government contracting. And so I came to Twitter with the idea of having, now X, but I came to Twitter with the idea of building an audience. Everybody says, oh, you got to find your audience. And it ain't there. Now, given my profession is populated by dinosaurs, and that has an impact on who's even there. But another thing that affects that is that the National Contract Management Association has something they call NCMA Connect. It's a forum exactly like that. People come in and ask questions. And every now and then I'll get a note from them and say, well, you're one of our experienced members, but we don't see you participating. And I write back and say, no, I don't participate. Because you get people asking questions like, I need a complete subcontract draft. Does anybody have one? I'm like, yeah, I got a bunch of them, but I'm not giving it away. That's my business. But then one of the retired folks will say, oh, yeah, I used to write these for clients all the time. Here, let me send you a link where 15 of them can be found. And I'm like, Why am I even a member of an association that goes out of its way to steal all my clients? It's like, and so I don't answer questions in a forum like that very often. Every once in a while, I'll jump in when it's gone totally off the rails, and I'm like, no, you're all in the wrong direction. Let's refocus this. But that's very rare. I don't do that very often. This same organization has now begun offering monthly, actually more than monthly, webinars. And these are law firms and the big boys in the field who are doing this for rainmaking. And once again, I'm frozen out of it. It's like, I'm kind of, I don't want to offer what I know in a lot of these forums because number one, it's not my audience. Number two, they're not going to become my clients. And number three, I'd be giving things away for free that, I have rent to pay too. It's like I need to find the clients that are willing to take what we do seriously.
Right. Now, there is an audience on Twitter that could benefit you, though. And that is journalists. Whole boatloads of journalists on there. And so you could potentially get interviewed, answer questions, get some visibility from a journalist if you happen to cross the right question. The odds are slim because of how niche you are, but it's possible.
I've got a couple of them that I've interacted with on LinkedIn. But I do subscribe, it's free, but I do subscribe to Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. And I get those notices every day of, what reporters are looking for in their various arenas. And once again, though, the number of times that it comes up with a government contract question is rare. And you may laugh about this, but what I've discovered is very often they don't care. It doesn't matter what they say. It could be dead wrong. But the public doesn't know that. But they met their deadline and they wrote their article. I confronted one in Denver one time who had written about how the government was allowing certain contractors to use taxpayer money to pay their taxes and do a whole bunch of other things. And I reached out to him and I said, you do realize that under government cost type principles, all of those costs are unallowable. There isn't one penny of tax dollars that goes to that. And his answer was, but I had a deadline to meet and nobody else has challenged me. So the article stands. I just publishing lies.
So 1 penny and he let the article.
This is what, it's like some of the biggest sites, one of the biggest ones with the big list, right? Their content can be so bad. I'm like, what? It's got to be really young people that don't know anything about business writing this stuff. I'm like, no, really. So there was only one really great writer there, and he got lost his authorship because of that guy on BuzzFeed. And but his content was amazing. But I actually stumbled upon who his ghostwriter was because I happen to know her. And officially, you can't have ghostwriters on big sites, which is ridiculous because we all know that CEOs sit around writing content all day long, right? How many CEOs write their own content for big sites or anywhere, right? Almost none. But the game must be played. Yeah, but at least his content was really, really worth reading. It was excellent, exceptional content. But a lot of their content is not worth reading. It's just bad, really bad. The internet is
now you got me curious.
Bad content.
Yeah. I know you don't want to say it, but I'm curious what site you're referring to.
Oh, you can ask me offline.
Okay, all right. That's it. I had a question for you. Now I'm still thinking about all these. I'm thinking, well, you know what? The stuff I'm thinking I can't say live, so I better think something else because it shouldn't be stated. And I've gone completely blank. Tom, Gail, any other thoughts as far as Quora and
well, go back to
questions so Quora, that are being
your answers on Quora do get quite a bit of visibility. Mm-hmm. And they have stats in there. It'll say you answered this many questions and you've gotten this many views or interactions or something. I've forgotten. There's several stats in there that are very useful. Right? I used to have a list of influencers on Quora.
Now, is it something that's worthwhile for people to continue?
It was sort of. So if you do it regularly, you can get a lot of visibility. And if there's a reason you want visibility, right, then it's worthwhile. So back, we used to answer things. They don't really like it when you do this though. But if you had knowledge of a topic, you could answer. And you'll see a lot of that on Quora, right? Where the people are answering to get visibility for the company they work for, right? We never did it for the company that we work for, but you can get visibility and you can, I guess, get traffic. You mentioned traffic. Do you get a lot of traffic from Quora?
I don't as much now because I stopped doing it regularly. But the thing is, I was going for the traffic as far as video, to be a subject
Uh-huh.
matter expert as far as video, but I was actually getting the traffic more for my positive thinking blog that I was doing. I don't do as much with that blog. And that's the problem, is where I was getting the traffic was like in psychology and in all of these other areas that I really am not focusing on as far as my current content. I mean, right now I'm doing mostly in video, writing stuff about AI and video and that kind of thing. And that's not where I was getting the visibility. I was getting it over in psychology and positive thinking and all this. So it's like those two parts of who I am didn't really connect as far. I mean, they are parts of who I am, but it's like this is where I'm trying to earn the money, and this is where
Right.
I'm getting the visibility. So
Okay, well, two ideas. One is that's because that's a much bigger audience
mhm.
interested in positive thinking than interested in video specific. And two is make videos about positive thinking.
That's a good one. That's good. With avatars, which is AI. No.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever works, right? Because
Oh, I should tell.
then you're getting the traffic, and maybe some small percentage of it might actually be interested in what you want to do.
I'm dying to tell you guys something that I watched yesterday that kind of relates to all of that, but it was so interesting. It kind of blew my mind and kind of shocked me at the same time. Do you want me to tell you?
I don't know. It's your show.
Do you want it in the recording?
I'll share it. I don't know what to do with it, but school, the community, where the two communities, they have a contest to see who can earn the most money. It's called School Games. Who can earn the most money per month? And you can do it
Right.
either by referring, people to come join and become community leaders, and then you get commission, or by actually joining the communities and having a recurring money as far as the membership. Well, these people, I don't know if they got first, second, or third, but whatever it was, they several tens of thousands or however much they earned per month. They were one of the winners. And I couldn't figure out for the longest time. I watched the interview because I was trying to figure out what their community was all about, how they won. And bless his heart, the guy was from France. I don't speak French, and he was trying really hard to speak English. So I had to take the community and go translate it. Well, anyway, I'm not familiar with these sites, but there's something, I can't remember what it's called, but fan only site or something, where it looked like big bosom women for the most part, where you go pay them or something to become fans of these women. I'm not picking on any, maybe there's men there too. I don't know. I'm not. So anyone watching this, I am just a dumb woman that doesn't know what she's talking about. But what I saw was there's a lot of very attractive women, and people pay money for whatever it is that they say they're
What?
eating for lunch.
Talk to them, look at them, watch them.
Talk about their lives, talk about what they're eating, where they're
There,
going,
there
having
have been some
events.
people in the news who are politicians and local boards or school teachers. And if it's the same site, I think it's called OnlyFans.
Oh,
Yes,
fans,
yes.
OnlyFans.
Thank you.
only. Fans
And
only, I think. Or is it OnlyFans?
it's
Oh,
OnlyFans.
Yes, and
Okay.
yep.
And it's interesting because you say attractive women. There are women there, and beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So I won't judge either. But as I understand it, they can video anything. Girl, boy, whatever.
Oh my.
And they get subscribers, and they get to set their own fee, apparently, from like a couple dollars a month to hundreds of dollars a
Is
month.
that legal?
Yeah. Well,
What
not in
is-
every country, but yes.
But
And
Tom,
ahead.
I want to come back to your description because we need that description. I want to come back. Okay, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry.
But this site that won the money or that won the contest, they actually have come up with AI to create, instead of having a human,
create.
it's
Yeah.
AI. And they're teaching people how to do the AI. So people are paying $200 a month for the membership to learn how to do this, to do a business, to actually create these, and then have other people pay for these AI creatures. I'm just calling them creatures because I don't know what you call them. They're not robots. They're AI entities.
Avatars?
Creations.
Yeah. And so they're having like little you have social media thing, like, hey, I went to this wonderful place. It's not really that they went to this restaurant because it's an AI picture of going to this event. And then everyone's like, oh, wow, they're really rich and they're really wonderful. And we're putting a like on this and they're getting all this social media attention. But it's an AI creature or creation, whatever. So anyway, yeah, that's how they made their money. I hope I describe that properly, but that's how they made a bunch of money, is by teaching people how to do this or run an agency of renting out AI, whatever. So Tom, you can go on describing.
Well, I know about it. It's been in the news, which is about the only reason. But I've used an example in my classes sometimes about Larry Flint. You may remember Larry Flint.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in classes, I would often say, well, Larry Flint, you'll remember Larry Flint. He was a publisher of Penthouse. And he was convicted of conspiracy, but all of his co-conspirators were acquitted. And it always bothered me that somebody that is involved in the porn industry was convicted of conspiring with himself, which brings on a whole new set of images. And invariably, somebody in the class would then say, no, that's Hustler. He published Hustler. And that allowed me to say, well, you know more about that sort of thing than I do. Whereas I was merely pointing out the principle.
I thought I knew that. And yeah.
But yes, it's one of those sites that you may know about for a variety of reasons, not because you patronize it in any way, shape, or form.
Or it was disgusting. I don't know if it still exists or not, but it was disgusting. It really was.
I don't necessarily know if we want to take this particular broadcast in this direction, but to give Deborah some content if she chooses to, it does lead to a couple other things. First of all, my sense of it is that a lot of the people there are there more out of desperation. They don't have a job. They've been through a nasty divorce. They're a single mom. They're issues that they haven't been able to solve on their own. And at least this way they make something. They make some money.
Well, they probably make a lot of money depending on what they're doing.
It depends, I think, on the individual. But the other thing that bothers me about it is that there are these studios out there, and they hire the girls and they give them the computer and the bedroom setup and all this kind of stuff. And when I've run across some of them, it's made me wonder very much about human trafficking and whether people feel distressed but voluntarily agree to do this, or if they're in distress and they're somewhat compelled to do this. That's where the vice is, in my view. But yes, these sites exist. There's many of them. And some of the states, Gail, to your question, some of the states have begun cracking down because they're trying to limit access. And another one of these sites that has a lot of stuff on it is called Pornhub. And they've been in the news here in Texas lately because Texas passed a law that said, if you don't verify the age of your viewers, you're violating Texas law and you can get in a lot of trouble here in Texas. And Pornhub said, that's too hard. And they shut down all of their access in Texas. You can still get it, I think, through something, Deborah, you may know about this, a VPN or something where you mask your somehow I've heard people talking about that as well. But the point is, these sites are out there. They exist. I think they perhaps serve a purpose, but I'm not sure it's a good one. And I'm not sure all the people involved are there voluntarily, either morally or ethically or any number of other reasons. So yeah, that's another whole aspect to these types of sites. But Gail, you're right in terms of what you can find online. In my corporate days, we had several investigations of people using company computers and compiling literally notebooks of material. And there was more than one occasion where we called the local authorities and said, here's what we found. And the person involved got arrested for child porn, for bestiality, for, I mean, just all kind of weird stuff. And the point is, back to Deborah's point about it, we can have our own moral objection to it, but it makes money. And it can make a lot of money.
We had
See,
that
that's
at a
the
Job
problem.
Corps in Texas where this girl came up to me and she's 13. She says, this is going on. And I was an IT person. It's like, I can't not do anything about this, even though I was a temp at a Job Corps in Dallas area. And so I started actually investigating it myself and trying to find where they were doing it, because the kids were filming themselves, but it didn't matter underage or not. They are underage filming this. And I got a hold of it, grabbed the hard drive, went into the director, and I remember it because he was kind of laughing about it later, but I went in and took the hard drive, put it on his desk, and said, child porn, it's yours. And he's like, oh, I got to deal with this. I said, yes, you have to deal with it, but I have removed it. No one can access this now within your Job Corps. Well, it turned out that they tried to say, well, it's simulated porn and they're 17, not quite 18. They tried to poo-poo it or something, whatever. And I got reassigned somewhere else because I was temp. And to me, it was just, this poor girl, she'd come to me crying. As far as I was concerned, it was child porn. And well, I shouldn't pick on the government, but they just poo-pooed it away. But
Mm.
yeah.
Now, see, none of this stuff is good, and the society has gone too far that way. And like, what was insanely unusual when we were in high school is now common in elementary schools.
Oh,
Like, it is just like unbelievable. You would unbelievable to me that little kids talk about things they do which they should not even know exists, much less be doing, and looking at it as though it's the same as kissing.
oh,
Not the same, and not something they should do. But we give them these video games and the music and all that. It is so bizarre, isn't it, that we've gone from Lucy and her husband have separate beds
mm-hmm.
to this in one generation, less than a generation,
And they were
right?
even married in real life. That wasn't just a
Yeah,
show.
that's
They
what
were
I'm
married in
saying.
real life.
Back then, there were twin beds, right?
Yep.
And now we have anything goes on television during family hour. It used to be a family time in the evening when you couldn't have R-rated stuff, right? And now it's like, I mean, I don't
Well,
know. I don't have a television.
you can
Haven't
look
had
at the incrementalism of
my
that. I
life.
mean, you look at Friends, the TV show Friends, still popular in reruns, I understand.
Right.
And it was a bunch of kids, young folk in New York City, and they were constantly hooking up with each other and other people, and a rotating boyfriend
But at least
girlfriend
they
kind of
were
thing.
adults, though. I mean,
Well,
it's
yes,
worse
but I'm saying
now.
the incrementalism of it as you
Yes,
watch it,
yes.
from the Lucy show to Friends to, I mean, some of the stuff I enjoy watching Family Guy, and some of the stuff they poke fun at is hilarious, and some of it is this, um, and
Mm.
the things they get away with, and again, we go to Saturday Night Live, the things they get away with now that they never could before.
And see, and the problem is that if your parents, if you don't have a religious upbringing and your parents don't tell you that you shouldn't jump into bed with a person on the first date, you don't know. And that's the scary thing. These kids in elementary school, I'm sure their parents never considered that they should teach them this stuff when they're 6. I mean, most parents don't even think you should teach it to them when they're 12, much less 6. Parents don't get it, and they don't have any idea what their kids are into. They give them smartphones when they're little. and it is scary, right? It's like there's stories, there's good stories though, where like a taxi cab driver realizes this little girl is going to meet some guy she doesn't even know that she met online
Hmm.
and manages to derail that plan, right?
This is a true story.
Yeah, that's a true story. And I'm
Well,
sure it's
that's
not
good
a
that.
true story. It's probably a bunch of times that has happened
Well, it's good that.
where,
Good for
and
him
the
that he's.
parents don't know, the kids, don't. It's just crazy stuff. I mean, the world has gone insane. We're old, so it looks really bizarre to us. And young people would think we're just weird because we take offense to these things that are going on. And hindsight works really well. Like, even in my generation, nobody told us. All the TV shows, everybody's sleeping with everybody. Like you
But
said,
when we were
Friends,
kids, they
whatever
weren't.
that was.
Little House on the Prairie, you didn't. I mean,
No, but then we
Waltons,
had
you
Sonny
didn't.
and
So.
Cher, right? Remember Sonny and Cher? I mean, yeah, they were married, but look how Cher dressed. Even in the old days, think about this. We had Bewitched, which is about witches, which shouldn't be on television. And we had I Dream of Jeannie, right? And
Mm-hmm.
on Bewitched, her cousin Sabrina. Remember cousin Sabrina and what she wore? And then the uncle who was in somewhere. There was some weird stuff in Bewitched. And Samantha wore skirts entirely too short for a housewife, right? I mean, did housewives actually wear mini skirts then? I don't think so. I wouldn't think so. I mean, we're in high school. You if you kneel on the ground, your skirt had to be within 4 inches of the
Mm-hmm.
ground. But we had Samantha wearing mini skirts, right?
I just
And
remember my
so
grandma forbid it. It's like when you
it
come here,
all
you won't watch that show that has a witch on it.
well, that's what I'm saying. Your grandma knew, but my
Yep.
parents didn't know. Now, the only thing my mom ever freaked out about was a Ouija board. My dad brought a Ouija board home and she went, no, and threw it out immediately. Right. And she rarely ever challenged my father because she's terrified of him, just like we were. And so, but she immediately said, no, we're not having a Ouija board in this house. And so she knew. But, but that's the only thing she ever objected to. Right.
So, well, what sort of things would the two of you go to in a forum where you can ask questions, to ask your own questions?
I gave up
Not
on
that,
that. We
not
should
that I'm
mention
trying to
that.
bring it back around to the original
Yeah, no,
topic.
no. On Quora, I did try to ask questions, and it would never let me ask questions. I finally gave up. I'm like, I don't know what the heck
Really?
they want. I would ask a question, it would say no. Then I would rephrase it and rephrase it and rephrase it and rephrase it, and I finally say, well, forget it then. And so I never ask questions on Quora ever. I only answer them. And
They
so
had.
people ask you to answer. Oh, he doesn't know that.
Mhm.
See, on Quora, people can ask for a specific person to answer. So you get this little alert that says you've been asked to answer these questions.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times for me, it would be like about content or Twitter or something I actually knew something about. Every once it would be about something weird, and I'd go pass. I'm like, why would they ask me that? But it'll ask you to answer, and you can just answer things because you want to, right? So anything you're interested in, you could answer the question. But
I for. Mhm.
keep in mind, you shouldn't answer anything that's not, the official narrative, right?
I forgot to play my 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 music. I got.
Yeah, I was
I'm
say we're
sitting.
way over time here.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching the internet keeps telling to reconnect. And I'm like, you said the Ouija board, and the thing kept saying it's reconnecting, reconnecting. I'm like, it's almost like the thing is responding to what we're talking about here. But um, good closing on talking about Cora and asking the questions. Good conversation. So
So let's say
with
bye. Bye, and we'll
yep,
see you next week. And the
we'll
calendar is
see
at
you.
socialcafe.net/calendar.
Excellent,
And you can't
excellent,
spell calendar, click on calendar at the top.
excellent. Good job, good job. Thank you for joining us. Yes, we'll see you same place, same time next week. Thank you. Thanks,
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, Gail.